the threshold maybe a player has to reach where you do feel confident in having them stick at a spot?
Well, it would be, the fact that if it's not really him, it's whoever's behind him. Are you comfortable with the guy behind him to take that spot and slide him over to another spot? You know what I'm saying? So it's more based on that. Are there guys behind? If I move this guy, for instance, let's say we move Alex Forsyth, whoever takes over for him, is there going to be a big drop off? If there is, then you don't want to do that. So that's kind of just the mindset and the process that we're going through right now.
Is it largely the same 6 at the top, Alex, or
no? There's about 7. There's about 8, 9 guys right now that we feel right now are ready today. If tomorrow was September 4th, which it's not, that we can trot out there. That we can trot out there, and but obviously there's still competition over the next couple of days to see who we're gonna play and who we're not gonna play.
You've recruited some of the best offensive linemen in this program's history. And then there's Ryan Walk.
Not me. It's a we thing here. It's everybody. And I didn't mean to cut you off, but it's never about I or me. That's junk in my opinion. It takes a we to recruit guys. It's our head football coach is more involved in recruiting, I would say, than any other head coach in the country. I mean, he doesn't ask you to send a letter. He doesn't ask you to do a FaceTime that he doesn't do. So he's as integral and as vital to our recruiting success at every position, especially the offensive line, than anywhere else. But Coach Mastro has a hand in a lot of the old linemen that we've brought here. Coach Bobby Williams does. Ken Wilson. So it's a really, really, truly is a we thing. It really, truly is. What was your next question? I forgot.
What has allowed Ryan Walk to be a former walk-on to get to this spot where he's in the mix as a starter?
Well, he's mentally and physically tough. He's mentally and physically resilient. It means a lot to him. He's a guy he's going to fight, claw, scratch to get the job done. And again, Coach Cristobal truly says it. It doesn't matter how you arrived here, right? What matters is what do you do with the opportunity when you get here. And he's a young man who's taken full advantage of his opportunities. He's a guy, we were talking about it earlier. What are we doing? Why are we doing it? How are we doing it? He knows what we're doing, why we're doing it, how we're doing it, and then he knows it and he can process it at a really, really, really high level. So the game of football really has slows down for him. And that's what allows him to react and respond when the defense isn't set up where the football coach told you they were going to be. Because that's really what football is, right? You don't have enough time as a college football coach. You don't have time as an NFL coach to go over every look with those guys. There are certain things, I promise you right now, as much as prepared as they're going to be, there's certain things that they're going to see on September 4th that we're going to execute awesome, and it'll be the first time those cats see it. And whoever tells you differently is full of it. All right, and that's the reality here at college. It's the reality in the NFL. So you want guys that how fast can you process stuff? It's not about knowing what to do, why to do it, and how to do it. That's important. But it's knowing what to do, why to do, how to do it, and do it now, right? And do it a second before you even think about it. And that's what allows a kid like him, like Ryan, to be very successful. And Ryan's a guy that he's one of those guys that he makes those other guys around him better. He makes, and that's how it is, right? It's not the best 5 play. It's the best 5. Who's going to make the best unit? Who's going to make them gel together? And so, but that's what makes a kid like him be able to succeed out on the football field.
When it kind of clicked, like, hey, we might have something here. This is not your typical walk-on.
Yeah, I would think. Well, it was probably that first fall that I was here. And even though he was a scout team guy, first fall, and then that spring when all those guys, when the Lemieux left, the Throckmortons left, and then we had that first spring after those guys left in 2000. It seems like forever ago, but that first spring when those guys left, we had about 8 guys, old linemen at camp. That's it, in spring ball. We had about 8. So, that joker said, hey, go put him in, and he takes every rep. He doesn't get hurt. It's more important for him to be out there than be in the training room. That's his mentality. That's his philosophy. So he just took advantage of all these opportunities. That spring when we only had about 8 guys, for real, we only had about 8 guys, and we didn't cut down reps. So we were still taking a bunch of reps, and here he is. He just kept showing up every day, and he kept showing up on film. Where to the point where even other players are like, hey, coach, man, that guy's pretty good now. So that's how it was. He just took advantage of someone opened the door for him. He walked in, and it's kind of like continues to push himself. He doesn't in any way he prepares as if he's still that walk-on. He prepares as if he still has a lot to prove.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Versatility, Alex. For Jones in particular, do you look at him as a tackle or a guard, or does he have a home? Because it's been for a couple of years of
Steven.
both.
Yeah, and I view him as a tackle. I view him as a tackle, but I think he could be a high-level guard too. But I think he's very. If all things were equal, you'd like for him to be able to play tackle. You'd like for him to be able to settle in and become a master of one spot instead of jack of all trades. So that's what we're trying to do with Steven. Whether we can do that or not, well, it depends more. Honestly, it doesn't depend on Steven. Steven's been moved around as a tribute to him because he's mentally very flexible. I know that's not the sound, but he's mentally very flexible. You can put him at right tackle or left tackle within the same period in practice, and he doesn't miss a beat. You know what I'm saying? He doesn't make a big deal about it. So because of that versatility, when we've had injuries, when we've had someone who or we don't think has been producing at a certain level, he makes it easy for you to move him. But at the same time, you'd love to be able to just have him settle down in a position. Kind of like Forsyth was that way. When Forsyth, when that group was here in 2019, Forsyth played everything. He was a right tackle. Our former O-line Jake nicknamed Toolbox, because he did everything. Now he's been able to settle down at the center spot, and now we don't have to really move him, So, but ideally, James, you'd like for Steven to be a tackle, but I think he could be a great guard too. He's just a big man, big human being that can bend, that can move. So he's one of those guys that when you recruit him, okay, I could see him being able to play 4 spots. I don't think he's a center, but I think he could play a tackle or a guard spot. And you're asking the same question in a different way, but that NFL scouts ask, about these guys. Can they play more than one spot? Hey, has he ever played guard? Right? Can he play left? Is he only a right side guy? So that kind of deal.
Coach, so the defense always talks about keeping guys fresh.
Yeah.
Well, I inferred from your comments you got 7, 8, 9 guys, but it's not about being fresh. It's about maybe being injured or hurt. But am I misinterpreting that?
No, you know what? Here's how we do it. The O-line is different. It's different than D-line, right? D-line, those guys rotate every 4 snaps. The O-line might have to go 12 plays. It's what Coach Cristobal look at it is if you move the left tackle and you put the backup left tackle, how much of a drop-off is there? If there's a big drop-off, then you don't want to do that, right? Because you can get your quarterback smoked or you can get your running back smoked, right? So that's really how you do it up front on the offensive line. When you move that right guard and you let another guard go in there, what's the drop-off? If there's not a drop-off, then you just ride with it and play it, So that's what we're trying to determine now, how many guys we feel we can play in that first game without there being a drop-off. The one spot that you don't like to move is you don't obviously like to move the center spot, right? Because of the fact that guy right there, those guys coordinate everything, and there's a relationship between him and the quarterback. So typically, you don't want to rotate that in unless you were rotating a quarterback in, that kind of deal. But truly, the decision is made not so much based on injury. It's more based upon when you move that guy and you put that other guy in, is there a drop-off? If there's not a significant drop-off, then yeah, go ahead and do it. But if there is, then you got to ride with those 5, And again, I go back to what Coach Cristobal just talked about with our guys. September 4th is not a tryout. September 4th is not a tryouts have been happening out here every single day. We tell them in the old line room, I think today's the 26th. Is that today, August 26th? All right. August 26th, the way that you perform, execute, and your physicalness on August 26th becomes September 4th reality. So, and that's what we kind of pound on them every day.
Coach, what are some ways that you've been working with Coach Cristobal to get ready for the Fresno State game with the offensive line?
What was that?
What are some ways that you and Coach Cristobal have been working with the offensive line?
Every day. Yeah. Every day, everything. We talk about what drills we need to run. We talk about what we possibly might. And again, we're just starting into Fresno State now, right? Starting tomorrow and Saturday. It's been camp until now. So we've been focused. He and I have been focused on just developing our guys' technique fundamentals and stuff like that. It hasn't been any talk of Fresno State in terms of out there with our players. Now, when that happens, it's Coach and I talk about, hey, what do you think about running this scheme against him? Well, what about these protections? So he and I bounce that off each other. Obviously, we've known each other for a long time. Obviously, he's a respected offensive line coach, so I'd be crazy not to say, hey, Coach, what do you think about doing this instead of doing that? at the end of the day, if coach says, hey, no, we're going to do A, B, C, D, we're going to do A, B, C, D, because he's a head football coach. You know what I'm saying? So there's nothing that we do on the offensive line, not one personnel move, not one, hey, this guy should go here, this guy's on field goal, none of that without talking to our head football coach about it. You know, so to answer your question, everything we do on the offensive line goes through him, and it goes through him because he and I talk about everything, you know, and it's cool. And I respect his opinion. He respects mine, and that's how we come up with the consensus on how our room's going to function and run.